Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And ladies and gentlemen, come on in the room. Between Sundays is live once again. I see y'all out there. Say hello. Say hello, say hello, say hello. What is going on? The world is crazy. No, not the whole world. Y'all already know who's crazy. We ain't even gotta say it. Y'all already know. But we're here again tonight on Between Sundays, having a conversation, and you already know the two people. You already know they're going to have a wonderful discussion once again, continuing conversation about blurred lines in church. Keith Felsner here with your opening and just saying a couple things. What's going on, Gregory? Whoever else is coming in, just let me see your name up here. Darren's going to shout you out later on, but I'm just taking time to do it now. Stay tuned and get ready to engage in the conversation. Keith Pelzer will see your comments. And if these two handsome gentlemen behind me missed the comment, they are looking at it too. I will flag them so that we can dial in on whatever it is you have to add to the conversation or any perspectives. All right. And so without further ado, I am delighted to turn the rest of this over to none other than Jay Morris and Darian Brister. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right. Welcome back.
Welcome, y'all. Welcome.
Between Sundays. Tonight is episode 69. Pause.
Right.
Again, we're a platform where we offer perspectives of the modern church ministry operation and the many nuances therein from the lens of worship arts and multimedia personnel. If you are with us, don't be shy. Say, hey, what's going on? If you don't mind, please share it to your page. Please. Tag someone you think might be good in the conversation. If you're watching us from an area that is not the PA, New Jersey, Delaware, tri-state area, let us know where you are watching from. If you have not already subscribed to the YouTube page, please do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube page.
Thank y'all.
Go over to YouTube, and in the search, you want to type Between Sundays YY7NI. You see Pastor Pete in the building.
I want it on a pause. Yeah.
All right. So we have been in the middle of a series that we're calling Church Membership and Blurred Lines. I would say our main focal point probably is going to be pointing towards the nuances of the hired creative contemplating or considering joining the church that they were hired at. All right. Again, disclaimer. Again, for the fourth time. None of us here are against church membership.
No. Not at all.
And none of us are necessarily against the hired creative becoming a member of the church that they're hired. But the conversation, again, is about some of the nuances, some of the unspoken culture or unspoken ideologies, things of that nature. It's speaking the unspoken instead of leaving it unspoken. All right. We are going to look at a comment from a previous episode that it goes right in line with the topic, and it's going to launch us into, our controlling question. Of course, it came from a great friend of the show, Pastor Pete Morgan. And the comment was, who makes the rights and privileges. All right. Now, let me give this some context if you're just joining us and maybe you haven't seen any previous episodes recently. One of my bow and arrow for this topic was that I mentioned something you hear, particularly in the Baptist church, right around the time that you're receiving the right hand of the fellowship. And what you hear is, we receive you as a member of our church with all rights and privileges. Mm-hmm. And so my follow-up question to that was, what are the rights and privileges? Pastor Pete's comment says, who makes out the rights and the privileges?
Right.
Pels, I want to set you up for this one first, if you don't mind, to give us, just a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of history.
Don't do it.
The rights and the privileges, as mentioned by our last guest, Bishop Gooden, mm-hmm. generally lie, again, I'm speaking from the perspective of the Baptist Church. Yeah. The rights and privileges, in terms of what they are, generally lie in the bylaws of the church. So when you ask who makes out the rights and privileges, then the question actually is, who makes out the bylaws of church? Right. Pelzer.
You're saying who makes the bylaws? So what ends up happening is if your church is a part, Baptist churches especially are, the key word when you say Baptist is autonomous. And so when you say that, that basically says we're a part of, we can be separate. It's almost like saying all of us black folk ain't exactly the same, but we are. So there's a context in which we're all on the same page. Even further, the target strike is over for some, and others not. Others, it was never because of what Pastor Bryant said. Others, it is. That's a lot of differences, and there just remains, there's some kind of moral law in place or something that calls a response. The way I grew up into it, it was pretty much everybody pivoted off of a standard bylaw that was made up that didn't really address if your church was on a row home block or if it was out in the suburbs. If you had deacons still kneeling down to pray, or someone standing up with a silk dope suit on, nice hairdo, or what I'm saying, Versace on praying. Mm-hmm. It didn't morph into that. So the standards is basically people modified it to fit or change what did not work. In some bylaws, you may find tithing different because of the perspective and the convictions and the present of how people feel. You hear certain other things. Some bylaws would say communion is on the first Sunday. Well, every church don't have it on the first Sunday. So it's modified to fit what works for that particular body or the collective of people that associate the same. Meaning, for example, in Philadelphia, you have the Monday Baptist Ministers Conference, right? Mm-hmm. Then you may have the night conference, whatever. It would be understood that most of the pastors represented there, they all follow the same thing, but it is morphed into, you could have a room full of black preachers where 25% look at the bylaws different, or theirs are different. And some people experience, you move from one church to the other, the bylaws are basically the same. And then you go to another one thinking, I've learned how bylaws work in the Black Baptist Church, and this particular church you're at, they're like, no, we don't do that. Mm-hmm. And you'll say what the bylaws say, and you'll look at it and you'll notice, because you've seen the one that you've been used to for so many years, it's modified from the way that you come to know it and experience it.
Yeah.
Last thing is, there's a ton of people that have done over 20 years of church. They have no clue what the bylaws say.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And they've never walked in fear or conviction on what the bylaws say as much as what the Bible says.
That part.
All right, so that's all I can give to it
That's
for now.
launch.
If that works.
Thank you, Pels.
All right.
So let me add to what Pels said. And again, this is a little bit of history. Generally speaking, Jay, the bylaws were written and agreed upon at the time that that particular church was organized.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So whoever those people were, and I say generally because I'm really looking at the lens from your earlier 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So like your 30s and 40s churches that were established in the 1930s and 40s. Generally speaking, whoever those individuals were, normally, there might have been, a pastor involved or a preacher that was going to be the pastor of the church, and then some key people who might have turned out to be deacons at the time of organization, maybe trusted, whatever the case. Generally speaking, that was when the bylaws were established at the time that actual church was organized. All right. And here's what's interesting. And maybe I'll get in trouble here. But what's interesting that many of the churches that that I might be referring to that are, that go back that far in terms of when they were organized. Many of those churches have not updated those bylaws.
Right.
So I want to throw this to you, Jay, and I want to rephrase the question a bit. Instead of who makes out the rights and privileges, if we are going to keep the language of rights and privileges, if we're going to keep that, who should make out what the rights and privileges, or who should, let's say, either establish the bylaws or who should, what's the word I'm looking for? Revise the bylaws. Your thoughts?
Well, when you talk about something like this, I have questions because I'm Kojic. So, like Pete, we never heard of something with these, different terms. Now, the Kojic Church may have something like this, but it's called something a little different rather than just Baptist bylaws. So these bylaws that are written, as you say, in early 20th century, I think it's safe to say that more likely when me and you and Pels, when we talked about possibly changing church services times, when you have a church full of folks that have been 70 and up, attending the same ministry 40, 50 years, changing those times, more likely those times are in the bylaws already. They've probably been following those bylaws and that time that's in the bylaws for eons.
Yeah. Jay, the problem is bylaws never have the time technically. Most of them, because they're written in articles, and there's not an article that says technically, and most of them, we start at 9:00 in the morning. We have Sunday school. Yeah. It is inferred, and those things are out of the bylaw. Right. They're not actually a part of it. So again, that mimics it, that morphs it into that specific body.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have rules like, if you usher, you got to wear black and white. That is, the usher board may have its own rules with the usher board. Right. But not the bylaws is the usher board rules.
Right. So when you say, if we was to do now in our generation, who would be the ones to revise it? Man.
So you know what's funny, Jay?
Go ahead.
I was just looking in some of my notes. So we ended up, after 5 years of pastoring, we had to readdress our bylaws, right? Because there's this grace of unorganized functioning where the average church ain't even, you can walk up to the average church. I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Damon Jones. When he took over PECBA, he went and read all of the bylaws and everything. It was like, nobody's been doing this for the past 8 moderators. And it was like Greek. We paying dues, we having meetings, we getting frustrated, the whole 9. And Damon Jones is like, okay, I'm the moderator now. I was in the association as music director and stuff. And I was just sitting there like, okay, you right. All the time when my dad was living and we was a part of this, I've never seen anybody follow any of this. And when he said it, everybody was like, we ain't doing that. They was like, but it's in your bylaws. And they was like, oh, like it was brand new language. Like, I didn't know that we supposed to do that. Literally, if your church don't come to all the meetings, your church is out of the association. And it was like, what? I give you another one. If you come from Kojic to Baptist, watch this here. The bylaws will put in there that you were baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So let's just say you Pentecostal, you like in Jesus' name. Technically, what Baptists would say by the bylaw, you need to be baptized again. And I believe that would be the same way if you go the opposite direction. I don't know that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be the opposite. Now, the question will say, did you see anybody do that according to the bylaws? We have never done that. We take your word, you coming under Christian experience, you've been baptized. Boom. We didn't ask, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or Jesus only. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Are you born again? Yes. Okay, cool. We're not even asking what church did you come from other than how did you leave your last church? Then we would take it on you to give up the tape. And it's like, you have an open mic to be like, was everything cool? If not, just let us know up front. It's not a basis of we're not going to accept you. But then we had contingency clauses that if we hear something from somebody that's kind of dookie mouthing you, then we gonna call them, we gonna call you in the room, and we gonna be like, yo, everybody speak, and then we make a conclusion from there. We had that kind of morphed into, I'll give you the terminology later on, but we had that kind of morphed into. The other thing we didn't do with our generation, the bylaws that we had from my dad's leadership, my grandfather, you don't pay your tithes, you're not a member. Right? Number one, you don't re-register this was the old bylaws of our church before we changed it. You had to re-up, just like Costco's or whatever. You had to come see us, sit down. What's good? You still working? All right, all of that stuff on a yearly basis. You don't come to Bible study. You miss 4 Bible studies or 4 Sunday schools. We don't need to come see you in the hospital. That stuff was in bylaws, bro. And when we looked at that, we was looking at each other like, ain't none of us Negroes, we all failed.
Oh, wow.
So Jay, I'm sorry to hijack that from you, but
it's all right.
That's how bad the bylaws were. And you're absolutely correct. They made it for how it fits them off of a general thing. And then they tried to follow that. And then everybody got quiet when they couldn't keep up with the scribe and the Pharisee of the bylaws.
Well, see, here's another thing, though. Maybe the bylaws should be changed every 25 or 30 years. Maybe that's something that could be implemented, because when you say who's doing it, who should revise it, well, the officials, maybe your trustees or your deacons. I would even go as far as to say to invite the pastor and maybe one of the faithful tenured worship leaders or maybe even a musician or two, because churches change every 20, 25 years.
True.
Different nuances of what we do. Church today isn't like it was 25 years ago. And it wasn't like it was 25 years before that.
Correct.
Right.
So having bylaws that's 100 years old or that's 50 years old is almost like it's irrelevant now, just to say, okay, what our bylaws is if you don't give this % of your tithes, then our bylaws say, even though we don't act on it, but our bylaws say you should be sat down and can't, there's different things that I'm sure the bylaws say that they don't follow, but maybe that should be changed.
Jay, here, okay, Darren, I'm past to you.
It's okay.
I'm looking at one thing, and I'll mention this that was in our bylaws that, and mind you, our revised bylaws weren't because we were trying to be strict, because we had to operate with a ton of grace on let every man examine himself. And it's like, when we sat back down, our whole new crew, we were just like, listen, everybody just be open and honest. And the ouch was there. So I'm going to give you a little piece of being a voting member, right? We had a part in there that was like, and we adapted it from, but we couldn't go too far off of this. And everything is linked with a scripture. So you can interpret it different ways if you want to make it fit. But when you try to do that, you're actually giving up. What are you trying to morph it into? As a music person, I always felt for the whole music department, because I was like, we fail by default, because we will come out to a Friday night rehearsal, but you damn sure ain't going to find us at Bible study faithfully unless we have to be there. And that's why most churches started letting the praise team sing on Wednesday, because it's like, that's the only way we're going to get these Negroes here. So a part of the bylaws was like, you want to say something, you want to be vote member, all this, that, and the third, even on top of just the money, be a regular attendant of, number one, worship services, Hebrews 10, right? Boom. You're going to get some language, forsake not the assembly, everybody coming together. Can't argue that much, because if it's a we, then when we down here, we should be here. Right? Number two, Christian education. Study to show thyself approved. That's not a holy righteous thing. That's just, as a believer, the Holy Spirit in you makes you want to know it better. If you're a keyboard player, you want to know better how that note works. If you're an organist, you want to practice without anybody forcing you. You want to know more. You practice, you study to show yourself approved. So if you're speaking for Christ, you want to be that person that's like, I want to learn more. So Christian education. So that goes to new members class, Sunday school, Bible studies, Bible education at the church, and even on your own. Now, but watch this here. 90% of your people in the congregation, what do they do? Well, what do you think about what we wear in church? Seriously? You can't get through enough scriptures to get at least a working answer on your own that something on decent and in order doesn't have to be what grandmama said, but you know the difference between decent and in order. When you put on your birthday dress, you try to be as out of order as you can to look sexy. That's not the preacher. Nobody condemning you. Last thing was this, and a partaker of the Lord's Supper. Okay, so communion Sunday, you should be revved up for it. And then you don't just go sucking down grape juice and eating a cracker, and you don't understand the context. And you still confused about, well, let every man examine himself. He that drinketh and eateth unworthily. You don't know if you saved or not, because you know you jacked up in sin last night. So then that pushes you back to education, because you coming into communion with a phobia. So then that pushes you into study to show thyself approved. Then it pushes you into, if you was here with everybody, you'd understand that there's people that got the same issues you got. So it all works together. All of that's incorporated in the bylaw. So the question now is, whether you start a brand new church, whether you pick up an old church, does that need to change? So that's why the bylaws weren't changed. And what started end up happening was we started sliding in, you can't wear sneakers. Yeah. And we put that in the bylaw. We started adding all this extra stuff that took away from the foundation. And I say that in defense for Baptist and Kojic. I think the core essence of their original bylaws were solid. But we just didn't know how to navigate change. And so we started making it a problem. And what are we updating? We're updating to fit how we do church now.
Yeah. So let me go in this direction.
Go for it, D.
I think one of the main I would say good things that came out of our last episode with Bishop Gooden is we were talking a lot about the language. Talking a lot about the language.
That's it, sir.
The language of terms that we're using. And so if I was to address the question I ask you, in terms of who should, be revising these, whomever it is, the first thing I want to revise is the word law. That's the first thing I want to revise.
Wow.
Because again, the language of the law part.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you are measured by how you keep that law.
Right. Exactly.
Boom.
And that does not really line up with what I believe is called New Testament orthodoxy.
Ooh. Nice.
Or New Testament Christianity. See that?
Preaching now, Reverend.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Because the whole thing is under the centerpiece is understanding that we're not under the Old Testament law.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
We're not under the keyword law. Because I think that takes us into measuring how people keep the law.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
And we all gonna fail. Maybe not as bad as somebody else, but we all
It's those two things though. Like you said, we gonna fail. And then, so Felix just said, black church folk need laws, right? It's a paradox, right? Because it's like, if you don't have them, we're screwed up. But then when you have them, again, you have the scribes and the Pharisees that's sitting there like, we pull it when we want.
Yep.
So rather than just saying, I'm busy, I gotta go on vacation, I don't feel like going to the hospital, we gonna look and be like, who want me to go see him at the hospital? Man, I ain't been to church and so and such and such. It's like, oh, that's a bad heart. Just say you lazy. Don't go bringing up the law. You knew they was broke. So now you want to check their tithes when somebody died. Like, stop playing, man. I agree with you, Dad.
That's my thing right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need guidelines? Absolutely.
But
absolutely
another
need
word
guidelines.
for that is rules.
Another word for laws is
Like, couldn't you say like rules or something like that?
Yeah.
Or why would you say standards and practices?
I need to go to a white church.
That's a good word, Jay. Standards and practices.
Like standards
and practices, guidelines.
That's dope because that gives grace, right?
Yeah,
you say these are our standards and practices that we as a majority agree upon.
Because real quick. Because for example, when you brought up your notes about like attending Bible study for the Christian education piece,
right?
Okay, the Bible study on Wednesday nights, and I don't get off work on Wednesday till 8.
Right.
What that mean for me? I'm a law breaking heathen.
Right.
Right.
Is that what that mean? Particularly in the times before live stream.
Yeah.
Before I could, maybe be at work and watch Bible study or get on the Bible study Zoom.
Right. You had to show up.
So here's where the frustrating the grace came in at. Darren, you bring up an awesome, mighty good point. So then, especially as black folk, the arguments come in. Well, y'all can do this and y'all can do that. I bet you if it was a game, you go to that game if you got front row seat tickets. And the problem is when that was true, because I, in my own conviction and grace, when I became like a walking deacon, they sit there like this with the bylaws, like, you see that? The trustee checking your tithe, I'm like, all right, they pay me $50 a month. Here's my tithe, $5, right? Everybody's scrutinizing.
Yep.
And I realized, okay, now we start showing up, me, my cousin Eric, we showing up to Bible study now more frequently because we junior deacons now. Man, Jazzy Jeff was like, yo, you want to go to the game? Go on, out. I ain't even at Bible study, right? So was the rule or the bylaws wrong, but then to Darian's part, there were people. My mom was working night shift, so she had to sleep. So it's like them people like, well, the first lady ain't at Bible study.
Yep.
talking to me for it.
And then first lady.
Yeah, the own first lady in it, or the cousin, or the choir leader that sing to everybody. She don't come.
Mm-hmm.
She work night shift. Well, she should figure something else out. So then you got to add into the bylaw, Bible study, so notice what I read to y'all that we revise.
Yeah.
Have a presence in one of these or all of these areas of Christian education.
That part.
So we had members that was like, yo, I'm going to school at night just to get a biblical degree in studies. I wasn't looking for them at Bible study and Sunday school because their conversation in the body evidenced I'm in my word.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that deep, where, and that's the thing with grace. But there's other churches that were like, they're so on it that, it wasn't no grace, but then they ignore it. And then the congregation is looking like, well, Jennifer don't do this. Jay don't do that. Darian don't do that. And then everybody, but I'm gonna mind my business though. And here we are.
Yeah. Tell you.
So let me do this. I want to pivot back to the question of what are the rights and privileges.
What are they?
I did I posted a question on my Facebook page maybe a few weeks ago, asking people what their understanding of the rights and privileges are. And so I want to read one comment that I got under there. And I'm just reading it really for reference, not to really dissect it, but, just kind of maybe a reference point of discussion for where I'm trying to land tonight. Okay. And the one comment, again, in response to what are the rights and privileges. All right. The person said, church membership is generally a formal commitment that allows full participation in the life of the congregation. As a member, you gain the right to partake in all church ordinances, such as communion and baptism, and the privilege of serving in member-only ministries and groups. This status also provides you with a formal voice in the church's future, allowing you to vote on its mission and direction, or even hold a leadership office. Membership also ensures you receive dedicated pastoral care, giving you and your family prioritized support for life's most significant moments, including weddings, funerals, hospital visits, and personal counseling.
My Lord.
I thought that was, again, a great description, and not really much to kind of pick at in regards to we need to look at this, but I thought that was a good summary of a lot of what is, let's say, the honorable parts
right
about rights and privileges, the sober parts about it. But here's what I want to land today. Jay, I want to land here when we talk about not only rights and privileges, but we also talk about church membership. And I have two words that I feel like there is a bit of a seesaw. Affiliation and expectation. Affiliation and expectation. Again, particularly in the construct of the conversation of church membership and what are the rights and privileges of church membership. Affiliation. I'm a part of, connected to, involved,
right,
and even, let's say, in support of affiliation. Where on the expectation side, I think the language is very different. It's very different on the expectation, because the first, I would say, the default thought about expectation is either one, receiving something or seeing certain results.
right.
Receiving something or seeing certain results.
Right.
And I believe, I'm coming to you for any thoughts you have. I believe there is a healthy balance to both. And not necessarily an even balance, but there's something, there's a portion there that is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I believe affiliation, having a little more of the weight, is healthier than expectation having more of the weight. Because that's where I believe, again, it can get not only tricky, it can get extremely subjective. Extremely subjective. But the other piece, and again, your thoughts. The other piece with affiliation, I think the affiliation is it's the driving force behind, or it's the connector.
Right.
It's the connector between our personal vertical relationship that connects us to our affiliation.
Right.
But if you do that the wrong way, what do I mean? If you try and use your affiliation to connect you with your relationship, I think that's backwards.
Yeah.
Your relationship, faith relationship, should be the connector to your affiliation, not your affiliation being your connector with your faith relationship.
That's good.
Your thoughts, Jay?
So when we talk about affiliation and expectation, it reminds me of, especially when it works well when it's wonderful and it's balanced, and I totally agree with that. However, I remember situations that I've experienced, and not only experienced but heard about, where you have pastors or mothers of the church or deaconess or deacons that have been that have used their affiliation with the church as to fill a void in themselves. And sometimes if you are married and in a marriage and you don't have, or like you said, you use that affiliation with the church to try to mend a relationship, and you forget about family. You forget about time. You forget about everything and totally put yourself and engulf yourself in the affiliation the wrong way. It could mess you up really, really bad. And a lot of families have been messed up because there was no expectation. We have grown, most of us, to learn that you don't expect anything except God's blessing. It's wrong of you to expect anything from the church. This is the church. This is why musicians go through what they go through now, because of the expectation.
Yeah.
I think that's really the main bone of why we are here and why we do what we do and talk about what we talk about each and every week. We talk about the expectations of both parties. But this is what happens when the affiliation is so strong, and you could get messed up being affiliated. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. Let me make that clear. Nothing wrong with affiliation from your church, but anything that is toxic, anything that is too much of something. I had aunt that lost her husband because she just gave the church a lot of time. Monday, prayer service. Tuesday, Bible study. Wednesday, rehearsal. Thursday, another prayer service. Friday, youth night. Saturday morning, noon prayer service. Sunday morning. It was always something.
Yeah.
And her affiliation, well, I got to be at the church. I got to be at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wonderful thing that she was in the church, but that affiliation became toxic for relationship. So I understand what you were saying when you say balance.
Yeah.
And yeah, the affiliation is a great thing, but if there is no balance in that affiliation, then it can become a problem.
Let me address some things, and I will stand to be corrected if these are more exceptions than they are common. Mm-hmm. Because the first thing I want to address is Pastor Pete's second to the last comment when he talked about we ain't talking about exceptions. And I hear you. Let me ask you this, though, Pastor Pete. Let me ask you this. Do you think in 2026, the person that works 9 to 5, do you think that shift in general is equally as common today as it was 30, 40 years ago? I would argue it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I would. Today, I would argue it's not as common. Is it? Maybe it's the majority. Okay. Yeah, maybe the majority, 52, 53%. But I would argue that the person that works just 9 to 5, they get off at 5 every day. I would argue that is not as common as it once was. So I just bring that up in terms of when I'm talking about the person that, maybe can't get off work for Bible study. That's not the exception it once was.
Right.
That's now a little bit closer to a normality than it was 30, 40 years ago. But here is when we talk about the affiliation, I do agree with you, Pastor Pete, that most of us, our affiliation led us to our connection. Yes, I do agree there. I do think there are some semantical things in between it, but I do agree there. My thought for concern is that the heavy affiliation is what commonly breeds what we call church hurt.
Right.
Because that church hurt thing, that don't come from this. It comes from the affiliation.
Right.
That's where that comes from.
Right, it's backwards.
It comes from the affiliation being heavier than the relationship here.
Right.
Although, again, most of us, our connection to our relationship started with an affiliation.
Right.
Whether our parents had us in church, something to that tune. Agreed. But again, if we leave it there in terms of the priority is the affiliation,
mm-hmm.
and it kind of gets a little above the relationship, that's where we get those things. And church hurt is so common, it ain't even funny nowadays. Before we get a little further, let me shout out some watchers. Jennifer Benton, as we said, Pastor Pete Morgan, Josh Gilmore, LB Mutchison, DTSP, Dave Bell, who else? Joanna Footman, JoJo Sticks, Greg Brown. Is there somebody else? I think that's all I see. Again, thank you all for tuning in. But yeah, there's a balance that is necessary. But now I want to, if I can steer back to affiliation and expectation. All right. Because here's what I believe is a subconscious thing for us, and I could be wrong. But talking about expectation and affiliation, and again, my thought and my position is that, when we're talking about those two, your affiliation should be slightly higher than your expectation. And I think you see a little bit more commonly that the expectation from church, from the expectation of the church from the church member, and the expectation of the church member from the church.
Right.
I think that has gotten off balance, particularly when we talk about these, bylaws, these standards, these, guidelines, whatever we want to call them,
Right.
standard practices.
Standards and practices.
I think that's starting to get, it's starting to get a little out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally believe affiliation should be a little bit higher for a good, healthy balance than expectation. Because now it's, because of the affiliation, I think you see two words that you see more commonly with affiliation than you see with expectation. Those two words, one of them is Pell's word, serve.
Mm-hmm.
And the second word, which could be a synonym, support. I believe that is something you would associate more with affiliation than you associate with expectation.
Most definitely.
Because like I said, expectation, generally, we're looking to receive something or we're looking to see a certain result. We're looking to see something happen. And I think that's where we kind of get into the whole, the as Pell said, we looking at how much people tithe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an expectation thing.
And
when we look,
and there's that measurement.
And
Come on, man.
You know what's interesting, and this is where the crazy thing about, like, it's funny, like how you guys have the title Blurred Lines, right? Felix and I'll be two people that if we move to a different state and we only just had each other and our wives and our kids to depend on, and it's like, hey, we going to start a church, I'll be like, Felix, I'll be the associate, you take lead, I'll handle the music pastor division, something like that. Let's get this done.
Mm-hmm.
You got the paperwork and stuff, right? You got the organized area that I don't have. Along with our wives, we got everything covered, admin, we can train people and get this rolling, right? But when I say blurred lines, it's like, I don't think like a Felix and I would have a problem on, I grew up Kojic, I grew up Baptist. We do this, do that. We can see now. Like when we met each other, it was through a person that was trying to be a jerk about it. And we like, yo, we good. So those of you know. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, the first thing we got past was once save, always save, and this, that, and the third. It's like, Negro, do you want to go to hell? No, me neither. Okay, let's make sure we don't go. Mm-hmm. That's it, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. We not in on the small things. Like, do you do it this way or do you do that? How many often you do this? It's like, do you love me? Yeah, I love you, bro. You love me too? Okay, cool. How do you feel about this, that, and the third? We found all these agreements that the differences weren't the problem. And then you start to realize, like, do you do this? Do you do that? Negro, I do. And we like, oh, so you ain't perfect neither. Okay, got it. But I not once started to feel like I'm walking with a phony man in Christ and he's on his way to hell, or he didn't look at me like, oh, keep on his way to hell. As much as we see grace, we see realness, we see, love, the whole thing. So you talking two different people here. And most of the same things that frustrate me frustrates him and vice versa. Now, we not twins, but at the end of the day, I never fell into that. And so when you get these, the idea of church now, the one thing I saw was the bylaws and stuff, that was more admin, getting order. Yeah. As Felix was saying, it's a place for order. Mm-hmm. But the ordinance part is what seems to be missing, right? This is a Keith Pelzer thing. I always narrow this back down when people go, what do you think about this, that, and the third? Or the bishop said this and they said that. And I'm looking like, it's the old phrase of Jesus, they said you, they said so-and-so. He's like, well, who do you say that I am? Let's start right there. Yeah. Don't go to your bishop. Don't call your pastor on the phone. Who do you say that I am? Right. And every question that most of these people have, and I'm not attacking nobody out there on Facebook, but sis, bro, y'all know who you are. Just posting a general question and you never provide your position on it, you are gaslighting because you never studied to show yourself approved. Right?
Yeah.
So today, here's what got out of the bylaws. 90% of your churches will have tithing. They'll have a full explanation, a full teaching on it. But some of them same churches, you know what they've done? They realize, I don't feel like tracking if y'all tithing or not. I don't have a way to do it. And from the trustees' mouths, we realize y'all not tithing. So what do? God told me that the next 20 people to sow a seed. It's still math.
Yeah.
Y'all come at me if you want. I don't care. It's still math. I've been around these Negroes before. They're doing the math. Sometimes it's easier to get $100 out of a broke person than to get their tithe of $50. Because if you spin it the right way, people give out of, here's where it goes against scripture, out of compulsion. We think compulsion means you're making me compulse. No, your own lack of trust, your own lack of studying, you feel compulsed, and it's not all on the preacher. It's because of your ignorance. And this is where all this stuff goes into. And so when you go to fact check most of the time, it's in the bylaws, this, that, and the third. The structure is sitting there on paper, but in the grace of how we act and do, that's where everything is convoluted at. That's where stuff is. And I'll leave on this. We keep saying, the church, this, that, and the third, and we keep referring to our gripes with the church from grandmama and them day. Well, guess what? We're about 20 to 30 years past grandmama day. Yes. And sooner or later, the present day is going to be the same way we talking about. That's why we don't go to church, because. So get comfortable with the praise and worship, the stages and all the fogs and all the lights and stuff. But sooner or later, a generation is going to criticize what you think is the thing today. And you know what's going to remain the same? The word of God.
That's
yes,
true.
Sir.
That's all this is.
So, Jay, I'm coming back your way for any thoughts or questions. Let me set it up this way. Relationship, affiliation, expectation. Relationship, affiliation, expectation. Here's what I believe we see commonly. When expectation jumps above affiliation, when expectation is not met, affiliation changes. Let me repeat that. When expectation jumps above in priority, affiliation, then when expectation is not met, affiliation changes.
Ooh, that's a word, Reverend. Yeah.
Your thoughts or questions, bro?
I think you said it all right there.
He worked the word.
Yeah, he worked the word. Yeah. I think he said it all.
Expectation and the
really
expectation to the affiliation.
Yeah, like
and my articulation.
He took it to church right
the
there.
Manifestation.
He took it to church right there. Ain't really nothing more. You know, like when I say skin the bone, like he skinned it, man. You know, nah, man. You know, but I definitely understand.
Yeah, because again, expectation. I believe that if we were to look at a lot of our bylaws, there's a lot of expectation.
Yep.
There's not a lot of, for example, this is our goals as, believers of this body. This is what we strive for.
That's right.
There's not a lot of that language in the bylaws. There is expectations. That's what it is. It's expectations. And so, again, when expectations ain't met, somebody gonna have issues. Yeah. Or even worse.
Darian, stay on that. You know what? So take it right back. But I'm gonna tell you something. So I had to do a funeral, and it was going home service. Let me be fair. So I did a going home service for someone who used to be a member of mine while we were open. Church closed. They affiliated with another church to achieve the expectation of having the funeral service at said church. Take that back. But when you said it, I thought about it. I was like, I've seen people affiliate so that they can have the expectate. I'm trying to make it rhyme.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
They have an affiliation with. It's like this. If you affiliate with James Scott Choir or Zach Choir or such and such or whoever, Jehovah Chosen, if they were still together, right? Then when something happened, you have an expectation that that particular choir is going to support you.
Yeah.
Because you affiliate with.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you had a genuine relationship. So when Darius playing with the words, I'm loving it because I was like, dang, we do affiliate, right? Or associate. And from any affiliation or association, we automatically demand an expectation.
Yep. Yeah.
So like if I support Angel, she's cooking fish all the time, that's affiliation. Right? It's business and affiliation, but then I'll have this expectation because I'm so cool with them. I need a musician. Like I expect Jay to come. It don't necessarily work like that. And so it's really, I'll add the Keith Felder word, it's a relation.
Yes, sir.
With Christ. Or else the affiliations and expectations go out the window.
Yeah.
So because I gave my life to Christ, I can expect, good God Almighty, for him to present me faultless before the presence of his glory with the exceeding joy.
That part.
There we go.
And I hope I'm not misunderstood by saying that, there should be no expectation.
Philly just dropped it, my boy.
I hope that's not what I'm not saying there shouldn't be any expectations. The chief expectation is, okay, I'm following as the leader is following.
Yeah.
So that's an expectation that the leader follows Christ. I follow the leader. There's a sober. There's a sober expectation.
You in the book?
Yeah, you in there tonight, dog.
But what I was going to say in terms of again the expectations jumping above the affiliation. Here's kind of what worse sometimes happens is when expectations get above affiliation, then the toxic environment of measuring shows up. Where now, okay, yeah, you might have a voice and a vote, but what does it mean? You ain't meeting the church expectations.
You know why? Because you ain't got a foundation. Hey! Woo! Woo, man! My hope is built on nothing less. Yeah.
So
Jay, I'm gonna get organs and that's put that in Jay. Jay gonna have to tune up.
He gonna have the left-handed.
He gonna have the left-handed. I mean, come on. He can do it. Jay can do it now. He can put 5 fingers on the left.
So as we wrap up, I hope tonight, it again.
Darren, just say it as I come to my close. Just say it as I come to my close. Just
as I take my seat.
As I take my seat.
But I hope tonight we were able to have a dialogue where we're not necessarily demonizing rights and privileges. Right. We're not even necessarily demonizing bylaws. Again, we're saying maybe, just maybe, it might be worth re-examining some of these things.
Definitely.
It may be worth re-examining the language.
Hey, Jen gonna be my chief admin, chief lead admin administrator.
But yes, again, maybe again re-examining some of the language, and then having an open dialogue and discussion with our members, partakers in some type of forum, of these rights and privileges.
Great way, bro.
Right, K-Ree. I was about to call him Darian Lee.
Reverend K-Ree Hill, good to see you. Saw
man.
Danielle Bullock come in.
I'm
Was it
free. I'm
somebody else?
gonna
I
give you
can't
credit because I'm gonna drop them in the sermon. I'm putting that in my notes
You better steal them.
because I sent my manuscript, so I'm gonna throw them in there.
Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
We're going to have a little more of this conversation next week in regards to affiliation and expectation.
Yeah.
Try to wrap that up, move into, I believe, the next layer of this where we're going to talk more about the blurred lines and some of the nuances when it comes to the apostle of public relations. But we're getting to more of the nuances of the, let's say, the hired creative considering joining the church that they're hired at. And again, some of, what we see common is unspoken that leads to unhealthy expectations. What we see common that leads to unhealthy expectations.
Right.
Next week, we on Tuesday night. Next week, St. Patrick's Day. We on Tuesday night, 10 p.m. right here.
Yeah.
Hope to see you there. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm your co-host, D. Brister.
I'm Jay Morris.
Pels, take us home.
Hey, we out of here. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, hope you had a wonderful night. Take care. We will see you next week on Tuesday.